Hey, Think Realty listener and viewer, thank you so much for joining us on the podcast today. It is our privilege to come to you and host live from sunny Tampa, Florida. We're outside of our actual Think Realty conference and expo where we're shooting some live podcasts with live guests. It makes it so much more fun when we're not on Zoom anymore. But anyways, I've got a great guest today I'll get into in just a second, but I want to say a quick thank you to our sponsor, which is RCN Capital, our good friends over at RCN Capital. RCN Capital is a national direct private lender that provides commercial loans for the purchase or refinance of non-owner occupied residential and commercial properties. The company specializes in ground-up construction, financing, short-term fix and flip financing, and long-term rental financing for real estate investors. You can visit them at rcncapital.com, rcncapital.com for more information on their loan programs. Today on our show, we've got one of my favorite people in the real estate investment space, and it's Glenn Stromberg. Glenn, thank you so much for joining us.
Eddie, my pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. Glenn and I are both friends, market speculators. We think a lot of the same way. And then recently we joined up and formed a partnership, so
Absolutely.
Pretty cool. I love when the relationships with Think Realty turn into long-term partnerships. I think that's what it's all about.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You know, and it's awesome to be partners with you, and I'm really looking forward to it.
Very cool. So, Glenn, if you don't know, is one of the most probably sought-after voices in the mobile home and manufactured home space. You've been doing this for a long time.
Right.
Stromberg Investment Group is really kind of at the forefront of helping people understand affordable housing specific to manufactured homes and mobile homes.
Right.
And mobile homes on land specifically. Do you mind just like walking through your model real quick to give them context?
Yeah, just give an overview. And the first thing I always say is these are not mobile home parks. People always think when they hear mobile homes, by the way, you know, mobile homes and manufactured homes, the terms are synonymous. They mean the same thing, right? But what we're doing is we're primarily buying, somewhere between a 1,300, 1,800 square foot house is the average that's on a half an acre to an acre tract of land. We buy it, we fix it up like new. We put a tenant in there. We've used all private money. We use all private money. We create turnkey opportunities, lending opportunities for investors. So we create win-wins for investors, win-wins for us. And the real thing is, especially with inflation and with the way the market is right now, affordable housing is just in such demand. It's just in such demand. So I think it's. You never want to say the word inflation proof, but recession resistant is what I call it. So
it's at least a hedge against it because of the massive demand and need for affordable housing.
Absolutely.
When it comes to mobile homes, the price point, the barrier to entry, I would assume is just a little bit less than maybe what single family is. And because it's a little bit lower, maybe not extremely lower, right? I mean, like in the end, there's such demand on it that it's not like it's going to be half the price of single family.
Right.
But it's a little bit lower. And then, but your cash on cash returns oftentimes can be greater than single family.
Yeah, and it depends on the area. There's some areas that it can be a half. Mm-hmm. It can be half the cost in some areas, right? Not in all areas.
Sure.
But it's affordability. It's affordable housing at its best. And really, if you look at it like. We compete against apartment complexes, right? Apartment complexes, there's areas of the country now. I know the Dallas-Fort Worth area. I just saw an article the other day. $2,500 a month is the average cost for a three bedroom.
Wow.
For a 3-bedroom, right? So so we've seen we've seen tremendous appreciation on our side. We're getting rents $1,700, $1,800, $1,900 in some cases now in the Dallas-Fort Worth area.
Yeah.
So yeah.
And I've seen, and if you haven't seen the Titan Talk we did together, you can always go watch our Titan Talk, and we shot a lot of videos of those homes.
Yeah.
And they're beautiful, right? Mm-hmm. Like, I mean, it's not at all what you think. I think typically when somebody says manufactured or mobile home, they think of this rundown, single wide trailer,
Absolutely.
In the middle of a park that's rundown. And when we went out to see the one that we shot some videos of, it's sitting on an acre tract of land. It's big fenced in yard, totally rehabbed. It had granite countertops. I mean, it was something that a family that maybe can't afford to get into something a little higher would be proud to be a part of, and for their kids to live in it and have places to play.
Absolutely, and that what you just said at the end there, a zero lot line house, right? There's no place for the kids to play.
Right.
So there's some people that prefer it versus a single family house.
Yeah, they go into these little tiny brand new starter subdivisions and they get like a little 1/3 acre postage stamp lot, and they have no place for the kids to play.
Exactly.
Versus going out into the country. Yeah, and so you're in how many states now?
We're in 4.
Okay.
We're getting ready to go into Florida. And we're getting ready to go into Florida too, so that'd be 5. But we're in 4 states: Texas, North Carolina, South Carolina, and Georgia.
And then moving to Florida.
Moving to Florida, that's correct.
Yeah, I'm sure, and the whole world is too. So.
Well, it sure seems like it. Most of the East Coast is,
Between Texas and Florida.
That's where they're going,
I was going over some stats with somebody that, maybe earlier today, and it was like, you have 3 states that, the top 3 states that have lost people are New York, Illinois, California.
Yep, makes sense.
And the top 3 states that have gained people are Florida, Texas, and what's your guess on the third one?
I'm going to say either North Carolina or Arizona.
It's really close. So like the next grouping it was actually Idaho for the last quarter.
Idaho. Oh, wow, okay.
There's a lot of flight out of Northern California into Idaho because it's I think politically the climate is different. Right. The affordability is there. It's beautiful.
Yeah.
So Boise, Idaho is a huge state that took on some people. But anyways, I'm curious to know, obviously you are deep into mobile homes and creating affordable housing and the ability to rent outside of maybe big apartment complexes or something like that. Right. But how do you feel about the current marketplace when it comes to mobile homes? You talk about being recessionary resistant or inflation resistant. What about long term? I mean, if you had a crystal ball, like what's the crystal ball say?
And like I say, my crystal ball, like most other people's, is broke. I don't know. I think we're in uncharted territory right now, but I do sense this, and this is kind of my thinking. You look at the price of gas, you look at the price of housing, you look at the price of food, right? There's people hurting out there.
Yeah.
There's people hurting out there.
The average American is spending $450 more per month on exactly what they had just a few months ago.
And then you take that fact with, depending on who you talk to, 60% to 2/3 of Americans are pretty much living check to check. Yep. And that's devastating, right? Yep. And we're starting to see some of that, right? Yep. I know people, they're like, what's going on here now, right? So I think, and we found this out in 2008 too. In 2008, when the market crashed, right? The capital markets froze. Right. Just the demand was incredible, right? Sure. I mean, we always have great demand for our stuff, but we're seeing an uptick. The demand is just like off the charts now because people have to look.
Sure.
$2,500 apartment complex. If that's the case, they're looking for something. They're looking for something different. So.
And they can get a little land and something that's actually bigger and new, right? I mean, you're
and
typically
the other thing too, we're normally in like suburban areas where the school districts seem to be better too.
That makes sense.
Versus the city schools and stuff like that too. So I think that's an attraction too.
Yeah, so. You're kind of moving out of the urban centers into rural areas.
Correct.
Because that's really where the governments allow mobile homes.
Exactly. You're not going to find them in the city, Dallas, in Dallas-Fort Worth area. You're not going to find them in Dallas or Tarrant County. Yeah. But they're in all the surrounding counties. So,
And then you primarily are managing these for investors, and so you're providing these as a turnkey product. So you're kind of double-siding it. You're kind of helping with affordable housing. Putting stock into the marketplace, but then also you're doing it as a service to investors who need to put capital into the marketplace and get a decent return.
Correct. Yeah. And it's a win-win, right? Because it helps us. We have pretty much unlimited capital to grow and to buy the properties and create great returns for them. And so it's a total win-win. So.
Yeah. I think for the average Think Realty listener, this is an interesting thing that you do. So Glenn services a lot of dentists, doctors, chiropractors. White collar, people that have lost interest in the stock market, lost interest in other investment vehicles, and have moved towards real estate. And now they just kind of are parking your money, whether it's in the fund that we've created or in buying single assets.
And like I say, that's where I think real estate in general, not just my stuff, but real estate in general is an inflation hedge, right? Sure. Because, rents, I think most people think rents went up 13% last year, right? And they did, right? And appreciation has gone through the roof.
Yeah.
I mean, we've seen tremendous appreciation. And if you're sitting in cash, you're getting nothing.
Right.
If you're in the wrong stock, and yeah, there's more people spooked by the stock market right now.
Sure.
There's no doubt about that.
Yes, it's terrifying. And the people that are in crypto or in the stock market, I mean, the market is volatile.
Very
and
volatile.
so they have no hope in what it's going to create for them.
Right.
And we know, I mean, the stat I always use is since 1897, when we have American real estate data, going back to 1897, there's never been a 5-year period in American history where the value is lower than the previous 5 years.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, right.
I mean, there's windows of a year or 2 or 3.
Sure.
You've got the Great Depression, you've got the Great Recession in '08 to 2010. Yeah, sure, there was values that plummeted, but a 5-year window, it's like you're growing again.
And you know what? When you're renting out a house that's cash flowing, who cares?
Right.
Until you sell, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. You hold on until the market's right, and then,
Sure.
then sell then, right? So.
And that is the name of the game, right? I mean, like you get the tax advantage of owning an asset.
Absolutely.
It's passive as passive can be in real estate because essentially you're property managing them,
Right.
and you're getting a greater return along with appreciation.
Without question. And like I said, these last 10 years, the appreciation has been crazy.
Yeah.
I mean, it has been crazy. And you can't bank on that in the future. But the thing that I always point out is that you're growing wealth tax deferred. Right?
Sure.
There's no taxes there,
Right.
right? Until you cash it out.
Right.
So, you're getting the cash flow, you're getting the depreciation
Yeah.
for the taxes, and then
Sure.
you're building wealth long term.
Yeah,
So.
makes sense. How do they get a hold of you, or how do they find you?
You can go to our website, stromberginvestmentgroup.com, or I'm not formal at all. Pick up the phone and call me at 817-966-1258.
That's a cell phone. Text them at about 2 in the morning. I'm kidding. What's the number again?
Yeah, 817-966-1258. Yes, I get up at 5 o'clock, so that's good. But yeah, I'm usually in bed by earlier too, though. So.
Yeah, no, I love what you do for the investor marketplace, and it's interesting because it's such a unique product, but it's such a practical product, and there's really not a lot of other people in the space. I know the guys that do the mobile home parks,
Right.
But not a lot of guys do mobile homes on land. Usually it's like the real estate investor that accidentally got 1 or 2 here or there because they were out marketing for distressed deals and they picked 1 or 2 up, but not anybody that's doing it in the masses.
Right, and I think what we're going to see, and this is what I believe, right? You look at building right now, right?
Yeah.
Supply chain issues, stuff like that. There's a lot of builders that's they're
Right.
stuck, right? They're stuck. So new manufactured homes are going to become prevalent too. They're going to become prevalent on land and so forth. And there's build to rent opportunities out there. I think manufactured homes are going to be a lot more in demand here the next 5 to 10 years. No ifs, ands, or buts.
Absolutely.
So, yeah.
I believe that too. It's obviously why we partnered up, because I feel the same way. It's like when we're 6.5 million homes underbuilt, and even though the interest rates just went up 0.75, the demand on single family housing did not reduce. We're still at 6.5 million homes under demand right now.
Yeah.
That's not apartment complexes. That's single family standalone doors, and that's where these mobile homes on land fit inside of that.
Yeah.
And so, but interesting stat, in the late 60s, there's a shift in consumer in what consumers their activity. The consumers used to in the 60s say, "Oh, I need a 2-bedroom, 1-bath." They created a need, and then they would work for the purchase. In the late 60s, early 70s, we have consumerism at an all-time high, and that is when the American population, by and large, started to become entitled. Now what they did in the late 60s, early 70s was they started saying, I deserve whatever I can afford. So they didn't go, this is what I need for my family. They went, I deserve what I can afford. And then how they determine what they can afford is their monthly payment, right? And so we know that what the American population today, by and large, can afford the payment, and by rough standards, on about a $300,000 house. That's about what the general American population can afford. Now, their credit might not allow them to buy it, but what they look at is they can afford less today because interest rates rose, right?
Absolutely.
So now this population that it has bad credit utilization, so their credit scores are going down. They now have to look at houses they didn't want to look at before because they thought they deserved something better, are coming to this quick realization that what they believe they deserve, they can't actually afford or get.
Right.
And there's going to be a shift in the American, population.
Right.
This happened in Europe. This happened in other places, and that's when I think things like mobile homes become the forefront of the conversation, because now what they believe they deserve, the only thing that's comparable by size and by structure is a mobile, a manufactured home.
Right.
An 1,800 square foot, 3-bedroom, 2-bath with granite, they're not going to be able to afford, right? If it's a standalone stick-built home or an apartment, they can't afford it. Right. But they can afford it if it's a mobile home.
Absolutely.
And so I just feel like I'm 100% in lockstep with you. I think this is a massive change. And you and I have spent time in DC. They're quickly becoming aware of how mobile homes can, affect our affordable housing.
Absolutely. And just to put it in context, to just give you real numbers, okay? Like I live in Fort Worth, right? So the Dallas-Fort Worth area, in the last 10 years, I'd say, you used to be able, 10 years ago, you probably were able to get a 3-bedroom, 2-bath brick house, 1,800 square feet for $150,000.
Wow.
That house now is minimum bare bones $350,000, $375,000 in most cases.
It's outside of the case of
400 or more, right?
People can't afford that.
And so what we've seen on our side is where we used to, they'd be $60,000. Now today they're selling for $115 a foot. So $200,000. So been tremendous appreciation. But that's what manufactured housing always does. It goes up and down with the market, right? It goes up and down. And like I say, I've seen this movie before in 2008, and what happens is if the market does get tougher, which honestly I think it's probably going to. I don't see any I don't see any solutions for inflation and what's going on right now and so forth. There's going to be more and more people pushed down to where they don't have a choice, right? If you because like I say, if you got 2-3 kids, you really don't want to live in an apartment complex unless you have to. So
and the Americans by and large are still entitled, but they are living paycheck to paycheck.
They're living paycheck to paycheck, and like you said, $450 they're paying extra now. So that's a big plus that might have went to housing, but now has to go to.
And you look at I've asked a lot of people, like, do you think we are just now at the new norm for good, like food, for consumer goods? Do you think the gallon of milk is always going to be $4, $5, or do you think it's actually going to go back down to $2? The reality of it is it's probably never going to go back down to $2, right? It's probably going to stay at $4 or $5.
Yeah.
Gas may go down, and that really is a politically motivated piece, right? So like whoever's in office could affect gas prices, right? But consumer goods, right? Like that's free market, and we're in a capitalistic society. So if they can get $4.50 or $5 out of a gallon of milk, they're gonna get $5 out of a gallon of milk. And so, inflation as a whole is a problem we're going to have to deal with for a while.
I believe that. And you talk about gas, right? I mean, there's a lot of people predicting $150 barrel oil, and that's, and then if that happens, then that hits food, that hits everything. Right? That hits everything. And then so, yeah, I think we're in some inflationary times for a while. I don't see any.
And you can't run, no matter what our political, I don't mean to be political, but you cannot run a robust economy without fossil fuels. You can't run it on windmills and turbines. You cannot create enough energy.
It would take minimum 100 years. Yeah, it would take minimum 100 years. So I agree with that.
Yeah. Well, very good. Well, I appreciate what you do, what you bring to the investor. One last thing, and then we'll wrap it up. I know that they can invest in you have a fund. You can do turnkeys.
Yes.
You also have lending structures that if they just want to be a lender on your deals, you can do that. And they can get a hold of you at Stromberg Investment Group, and or reach out to you on your phone that you gave. And then they can kind of see if this is an asset class that makes sense for them.
Absolutely. Well, what we do is they call, we'll set up, we have a Calendly link on there, and we just set up a time with them, and we run through it, and then it's the ball's in their court. So yeah.
Very good. Awesome. Thanks for being our guest today.
My pleasure. Thanks, Eddie. Thanks for having me.
Let me say a quick thank you to our podcast sponsor. It's RCN Capital. RCN Capital is a national direct private lender that provides commercial loans for the purchase or refinance of non-owner occupied residential and commercial properties. The company specializes in ground-up construction financing, short-term fix and flip financing, and long-term rental financing for real estate investors. You can visit them at rcncapital.com. That's rcncapital.com, and find out more about their loan programs. If you haven't checked out mobile homes, it's something you're going to want to do. I would highly recommend getting on Glenn's calendar and just stating what your desires are. You know, here's my goal. This is the capital I have. I want to invest, and see if it makes sense for you. You know, if you are typically in just single family or just multifamily or just commercial or just warehouse, this is the marketplace that we need to diversify. Glenn and I, personally, we were talking even before this podcast, and I said, here's the capital I have. I would like to diversify it. And by the way, I don't have a lot of other investment opportunities. So is there a way for you to keep that in mobile homes for a while, right? Yeah. And so for me, it's like we need to diversify. We as real estate investors need to diversify because we don't know what the market looks like tomorrow. Now, that being said, we should also not be scared. Real estate investors should have an investment mindset. An investment mindset is when everybody else is running out scared, we should be cautiously getting ready to run in when the opportunity presents itself. Fortune definitely favors the bold, and in this game, that's what it is. Real estate investors that were smart and savvy in the last downturn, they didn't just have incremental increases, they doubled their wealth. I was one of those people in the last downturn that got to take advantage of the opportunity. If you are wise and savvy in this time period, which I believe is at least a small downturn, you can also double your wealth. You just got to be savvy. So use Think Realty as a companion. Follow us. Listen to the credible witnesses that we put in front of you. Read the data. Read the things that we put out from the chief economist. But again, watch for the opportunity. Don't go with fear. Go with anticipation, waiting for the right deal, and take it down with confidence. If you're not following us on social, get into the conversation by joining us on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, all those great places. Follow us at thinkrealty.com or pick up the latest Think Realty magazine on your local Barnes & Noble bookshelf or order it online. We want to hear from you. Get in the conversation. Tell us what you need, and we'll be your companion for the journey. Good luck and happy investing.